The headlines look dramatic enough on their own, but what has unfolded inside the Cosby family is far more shocking than anything Real Housewives fans ever expected. The quiet, almost mysterious world surrounding Mary Cosby has erupted into full public chaos as her son, Robert Cosby Jr., now finds himself at the center of a spiraling storm. A storm involving multiple arrests, escalating charges, a shattered marriage, and a divorce petition filled with restrictions so severe they read like a warning label. And today, we're diving deep into the unraveling of a relationship that went from secretive to explosive, from protected to broken, and from private family matters to a full-scale legal crisis. Before we break down every twist in this emotional and legal saga, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps us continue bringing you in-depth coverage on the stories everyone is talking about. The story begins with a woman many Real Housewives viewers barely knew until now, Alexiana Arian Smokoff, the wife, or now soon-to-be ex-wife, of Mary Cosby's only child. For years, their relationship was kept quiet, almost hidden, something fans speculated about but rarely received clarity on. But all that changed the moment police lights hit the driveway of her parents' home. What had been a private love story suddenly turned into a public emergency, sparking a timeline of arrests, accusations, court orders, and now a divorce filing that paints a picture of a marriage past the point of repair. According to the documents filed at the Salt Lake County District Court, Alexiana is not merely requesting a standard end to the marriage. Her petition is layered with conditions, strict, non-negotiable conditions, meant to create immediate distance between her and Robert Jr. The language is intense. Neither party is allowed to harass or intimidate the other, not in person, not electronically, not through any channel at all. The petition specifically forbids domestic violence, stalking behaviors, or any interference with the other person's sense of safety or peace. But the restrictions don't stop at physical or verbal boundaries. The petition goes deeper, signaling concerns that extend beyond personal interactions. It prohibits either party from using the other's name, identity, or likeness to obtain credit, to open accounts, or to manipulate services in any way. It forbids canceling utilities, tampering with accounts, or altering beneficiaries on important life policies. Even insurance, health, home, auto, and life, is locked in place to prevent retaliation or financial control. These aren't ordinary divorce details. These are protective measures reserved for situations already steeped in conflict. And that conflict became undeniable on November 9th, when Robert Jr. was arrested for violating a pretrial protective order, one put in place for Alexiana's safety. That alone could have sparked a wave of concern, but the charges didn't stop there. According to official reports, he was also accused of property destruction, interfering with law enforcement, failing to comply with police commands, criminal trespassing, and even assaulting a peace officer or military service member in uniform. Each charge added weight to a story already sinking fast. But disturbingly, this wasn't the first incident. Just weeks before the November arrest, Robert Jr. allegedly attempted to force entry into the home of Alexiana's parents, where she was living, and was accused of assaulting someone on the property. Police reports from that incident listed criminal trespassing, assault, violating court orders, and resisting law enforcement. What was once a fractured relationship now appeared to be a full collapse, dangerous, chaotic, and escalating with each week. Yet even amid these spiraling accusations, Robert Jr. has now publicly acknowledged his part in the turmoil. In a statement released through his attorney following his latest hearing, he expressed regret, acknowledging that he continued contacting Alexiana in hopes of reconciling, refusing to accept the marriage was over. His attorney stated plainly that Robert was slow to recognize the end of the relationship and that his attempts to reconnect only caused more harm. According to the statement, he now understands that the relationship is finished and that he must move on. And as all of this was unfolding, Mary Cosby herself stepped into the conversation, offering a reaction that surprised many. Speaking to People after her son's first arrest, Mary admitted she was devastated, worried, and hurt, but she also suggested the experience was necessary. She said she believed Robert needed a moment like this, something that would confront him with the reality of his choices and the path he was walking. For one of the most private, unpredictable, and undeniably mysterious figures in the Real Housewives universe, it was a rare, vulnerable moment, yet still layered in her signature cryptic perspective. Now, as it stands, Robert Jr. remains behind bars at the Salt Lake County Jail. His legal situation is far from resolved. The divorce proceedings are still unfolding, and the emotional fallout between two families is only beginning to surface. But this is only the beginning, because the details behind the rise and fall of this relationship, the timeline of incidents leading to the divorce, and the unfolding court battle reveal even more layers than the headlines suggest. What makes this story even more intense is how quickly everything escalated behind the scenes. For months, both families were quietly navigating the growing tension, hoping things wouldn't spiral into something irreversible. But the quiet cracks in the relationship eventually became fractures large enough for the public to see. People close to the situation revealed that the couple had been struggling long before the police became involved, long before court orders were issued, and long before the divorce petition was filed. What looked on the surface like a young couple trying to find their way was actually a relationship weighed down by unresolved disagreements, emotional strain, and growing distance. For Alexiana, the turning point appears to have come when she moved back into her parents' home. A move that seemed temporary ended up being the moment everything shifted. That house became the center of multiple incidents, each one more alarming than the last. Each police report, each visit from officers, each court document told a story of a relationship that had transitioned from tense to dangerous. The restraining order was not simply a formality. It was an emergency measure taken after repeated breaches of boundaries that had already shaken her sense of safety. And the reality is, those boundaries weren't being broken quietly. The police descriptions of forced entries, confrontations, and attempts to contact her despite court orders paint a picture that is difficult to ignore. These were not misunderstandings or accidental encounters. They were deliberate attempts to reconnect or communicate, even when the courts had strictly prohibited any contact. It's the kind of situation where every knock on the door, every car pulling into the driveway, every unexpected sound could have triggered fear and anxiety. A home that should have provided comfort instead became the backdrop for escalating tension. Behind the legal walls being built, there's also the emotional story. A marriage falling apart in real time. Robert Jr.'s insistence on reconciling, despite clear boundaries, may have stemmed from denial or hope, but the consequences became severe. His statement, delivered through his attorney, reads like someone finally forced to confront reality. Admitting that he was slow to recognize the end of the relationship is a carefully chosen phrase, one that hints at emotional attachment, but also acknowledges that attachment had crossed into behavior that caused pain and fear. His realization, though late, is now shaping his legal path and his future. But the question many people are asking is, how did things reach this level? How did a private family known for secrecy and control end up at the center of a public legal crisis? Part of the answer lies in the unique dynamic of the Cosby household. Mary Cosby, a figure who has always projected a mix of spiritual authority and eccentric mystery, has never fully opened the door to her personal life. Her son, raised in an environment of protection, privacy, and intense family expectations. The moment real-world consequences hit, everything seemed to unravel at once. Mary's reaction, that her son needed the wake-up call, adds another complicated layer. It shows a mother torn between fear for her child's safety and an understanding that he must face the impact of his actions. It shows a parent witnessing their child's downfall while hoping the experience becomes a turning point rather than a permanent stain. And for viewers who have watched Mary for years, this moment revealed a vulnerability she rarely shows, even on camera. As for Alexiana, her decision to file for divorce and to include firm, legally binding restrictions illustrates just how far things had deteriorated. Her petition wasn't crafted in anger, it was crafted in protection. It focused not on division of assets or financial demands, but on safety, distance, and boundaries. When a divorce document prioritizes what cannot be done rather than what should be split, it speaks volumes. It signals a marriage where the emotional toll has surpassed the material concerns. Now, with Robert Jr. behind bars, the divorce process underway, and both families forced into the spotlight, the story continues to unfold. The court will determine what happens next, but the emotional fallout is something neither side can avoid. The public may see the legal headlines, but behind those headlines are two families grappling with disappointment, fear, heartbreak, and the realization that their lives have been changed forever. And the most gripping part? The deeper timeline, the build-up, the unsaid moments, the red flags, the family reactions, and the events that led directly to the November arrests has even more twists waiting to be uncovered.